Hello, I hope you guys had a beautiful Monday. It's NikeTV. But because this is the case that got me interested in true crime. So when I first started watching this genre on YouTube and on TV, there was a show called Stolen Voices, Buried Secrets. And the very first show that I watched happened to be a case from South Carolina, and it was about a man named Johnnie Ken Register. And who knew that years later I would work in the South Carolina prison system and he would be on my caseload. So today I decided to cover that case, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed delving into it and researching it to bring you guys the facts of this case. It's a tragic one, I must warn you of that, and it's the holidays, so just kind of be prepared, just a little trigger warning for you all. And yeah, let's get into it. In late 1991, Crystal Faye Todd vanished from her home in Conway, South Carolina. After she had missed curfew at 1 a.m., her mom, Bonnie, got a little up in arms, wondering where her daughter was. No one had seen her, even after calling around. She even made a phone call to Crystal's best friend, Johnnie Ken Register, who said he hadn't seen her all night. From that point on, Bonnie would resume a search that would end in finding her daughter's abandoned car in the Conway Middle School parking lot. Bonnie, who referred to Crystal as her miracle child, since she hadn't been able to have children and finally had Crystal at the age of 39, was understandably upset. Her daughter had not missed curfew before, and if she had, it was always resolved within the first few minutes. This time, though, it was different. So she woke her boyfriend. They went and they looked around. Nobody had seen her. This was just unlike her. And if she was going to be anywhere after leaving a party, and the person that she trusted most for Crystal to be with had said he hadn't seen her, so it was really time to panic then. Crystal was really all she had in the world, given the fact that her dad had passed away when she was really young. So it was just her and her daughter all the time. And she was nowhere to be found. And then the next day, as search crews went out looking for Crystal, the discovery of a young woman's body in a nearby ditch brought everyone to a standstill. It was the outcome everyone was hoping would not be. It was Crystal, and she was identified by her class ring. The body would be found partially clothed with multiple stab wounds. Lieutenant Emily Reinhardt, a serologist from the state of South Carolina, described the scene as brutal. And if you guys don't know what a serologist is, neither did I, so I had to look it up for us. A serologist studies serum and other body fluids. So the crime was said to be sexual in nature, and DNA was collected at the scene. No one knew who it belonged to just yet, since DNA was in its infancy. They got a profile, and they did ask for several people to give a DNA profile, which they did, with the inclusion of Crystal's best friend, Johnnie Ken Register. Initial thoughts were that this had been committed by an outsider. Conway was a small town and everybody knew everybody. So people were looking, outside of their front doors, wondering if their neighbors had done this, because they could not understand how this 17-year-old girl had been killed by someone right there underneath their noses. The investigation resumed. Crystal was buried. Her friends and family showed up in large numbers, again with the inclusion of Johnnie Ken Register, who was actually a pallbearer at her funeral. They were the closest of friends since childhood. Her mom trusted Ken with her life, and she knew that Crystal would never date him. I mean, they had conversations about it, and she actually told her mom about a week and a half before her death that he was trying to date her, and her mom said, well, he must think a lot of you. And Crystal wasn't trying to feel it. That was her friend. She wanted to leave it at that, but obviously Ken did not feel the same way. Let me just say that you have to be a brazen son of a gun to go to someone's funeral that you murdered and carry their casket, help the family mourn, act as if you didn't do anything. I mean, that takes a lot of guts. And I'm saying guts, but I really mean another word. Because how can you do that? That is a special kind of evil. To go to this woman's funeral and just sit by her mom, help comfort her mom. You guys have been friends since you were children. And because things didn't go your way one time, this is what you do? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give you guys the rest of the facts. So apparently Crystal had been dropped off to a mall parking lot to get her car after leaving a party. That would be the last time anyone besides Ken Register would see her alive again. She was driving home, but before she went home, since she still had an hour before curfew, she decided to get something to eat. And while out, she ran into Ken, who convinced her to get into his car and let, just chill out for the last little hour that she had. And of course, that was her friend. So she said, okay. They went and they parked somewhere after getting something to eat, and apparently something sexual went down. Now, from all the sources that I've seen, Crystal wasn't really feeling this, but Johnnie was. So she let him do his thing, but she wasn't really into it. And something happened with the condom, and that was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. And she told him, she said, if I'm pregnant, you're going to hear about this. And Ken was known to have an explosive temper. And apparently that's all that it took for him to get out of his side of the car while she was getting dressed, because she had stepped out of the car to get dressed, and he went around and he just stabbed her multiple times. I mean, just in a fit, in a rage. This is someone who he grew up spending the night with and doing everything with, and just in a blink of an eye, he flipped on her and he just stabbed her to death. And once he was finished and realized that she had died, some more sexual activity had taken place. So not only did he kill her, but he raped her dead body, her corpse. I mean, it just doesn't get any sicker than that, you guys. So the crime was committed on one side of the road. Then he dragged her to the other side and placed her in the ditch. After that, he got himself together and he started driving home. Now, once investigators realized that his DNA profile matched the profile that they collected from the scene, they went and they got an alibi for him. And his mother and his girlfriend said that he was home all night, to which investigators said, well, if he committed this crime, he had to have come home bloody. Blood would have been all over him. There's no way that he would have gone home clean after doing what he did. And Bonnie Todd, Crystal's mother, actually said that if Ken's mother helped cover up this crime or helped clean him up, then she had Crystal's blood on her hands as well. And I definitely agree. I mean, that's the kind of mother who would see her son beat the brakes off somebody else's kid and say, well, he didn't do anything. He just wanted some candy. That's not the thing that you protect, ma'am. And if you ever see this video by any stretch of the imagination, I just want you to know that that is wrong. Because had it been the other way around, you would want to know what happened to your child. But I digress, because once again, I don't like to speculate. I don't know all the facts. But his mom said that she can't explain the DNA being at the scene. That's just something that she cannot explain. But she knows her child didn't do it because he was home all night. But DNA doesn't lie. I mean, there is no way that they could fabricate a profile being there. I mean, nobody would have expected this man, because once again, he was her closest friend in the world. So why else would his DNA be on her corpse? Regardless of that alibi, investigators said, you know what? He did it. They went to arrest him, and he was taken down to the detention center where he gave a full confession. It took some time because he really wanted people to think that he didn't do this, including going to that girl's funeral. I cannot get past that part. I cannot get past the part that he went and carried this young woman's casket. I mean, I just can't. Like that, among all of this that happened in this case, that is the worst detail for me. Like, how do you guys, I can't. I mean, there are certain things that I cannot understand in this life, and that kind of evil is one of them. But I'm going off on a tangent, but somebody has to agree with me. I mean, but anyway, so he goes ahead and confesses, and of course, he is taken to jail. He's taken to trial, and he receives a life sentence, amongst other things, for this murder. Finally, giving Bonnie Todd some closure. I mean, this was her only child. This was her closest living relative. And this woman suffered. You know, she suffered because for a long time, even up until her own death, she could not get past the fact that her baby had been taken in such a brutal way. Crystal was on track to graduate high school. She was a senior at the time. You know, she was a good girl, and she had such a tragic end. But I said all that to say, when I got brought to Broad River Correctional Institution, this is another one of those stories. You know, I checked my roster before I even got transferred, because I wanted to know what type of stock I'm dealing with. And when I was working at the Department of Corrections, that was my thing. I always had to know who I was dealing with. And I knew that he was on my, he was in that institution, but I had no idea he would be in my caseload. So once I got there and I started acclimating myself and everything, and I kind of started meeting everybody and doing reviews, I remember the first time he walked into my office, and those eyes pierced me like no other. I mean, I had never seen eyes that intense before. And he had a mask on, of course, because we were in the middle of a pandemic. But it was those eyes, like he looked through me, not even at me, but through me. And he was very soft-spoken. And I looked and I froze for a second, and then it just came out. And I was like, I saw you on TV. And he looked at me and he kind of paused, and it was like he kind of didn't know how to take that. So I had to calm down and remember where I was, because this guy was the one, like I said, his story got me into watching true crime, because I could not believe that people do things like that. You know, I had seen things, you know, growing up in New Jersey. I had seen a lot of things and heard about a lot of things, but to actually know that it was that close to home when I got to South Carolina, and this guy would be in front of me, it was just like a whole nother thing for me. And so I told him, I said, I seen him on TV, and I explained to him where I saw it, and he kind of chuckled and he said, well, that was a long time ago, and he left that alone, and I left it alone. But it was just the fact that this guy, he's on a character unit. He does not get in any trouble. He is not the kind of guy that you would expect to have committed the crime that he did all those years ago, but he was younger, so I will give him that. You know, he's not a troublemaker. He's not a disrespectful type of guy. He works in the plant that they have over there, and he does various things, and he's had that job for a number of years. But it's just seeing up close and personal the kind of evil that can kill their best friend and go to a funeral and be a pallbearer and lie the way that he did. That type of thing sends a shockwave through you, because I don't think people expect that when you meet these people, you're not meeting the person behind the screen. You're meeting them one-on-one. You know, I'm here, he's here. You don't know what's going through their mind. And I don't know if he is the type of person to snap. I don't know if it was mental illness. I don't know what it was. But I know that in dealing with these people, I had to learn to separate the inmate from the individual, because if you don't, that's all you're going to see. That is all you're going to see. You're going to see the crime, you're going to see the evil, and you're not going to see any kind of reformation. I mean, because some of these people actively do try to participate in their own rehabilitation. And I can say that he might be one of them. It might be for selfish reasons, because he wants protection. It might be because he really just wants to change. But he is one of those people that I say I can't see him harming a fly, because he's quiet. He stays to himself. I mean, he has a select few friends, but to be on that unit, you know, you have to have a certain kind of attitude. You have to have a certain kind of behavior profile. And if that means anything, he does have it, but so did Todd Cohelt. And we know what he did. You know, Johnnie had one victim. Todd had 7 and counting, because according to him, he had a whole lot more. But we're not talking about him. We already did his case. But I'm just saying, you know, these are the type of people that I interacted with every day for the better part of a decade, and it still shocks me. You know, for a lot of people, it's just routine. This is what we do every day. But you really have to be careful. You really have to be careful, because you don't know what it is that you're walking into. We can go in there one way, and this person may have a mental flip, and next thing you know, we laid out somewhere. Thank God it has never happened. It happens every day, but I've never seen it to the extent that I'm thinking about in my mind. I've never seen it to the extent of these people repeating what it is they did to make themselves get in prison in the first place. I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. I'm kind of rambling here, but this case was fascinating to me. It was crazy. It had a lot of twists and turns, but at the same time, it was kind of straightforward, because this woman suffered not knowing what was happening to her child or what had happened to her child. And to know that they found her in a ditch, and I apologize that you guys had to see those photos, but I mean, I really had to give it to you straight, because this is what he did. This is what he did to her. And really, he had no remorse. And, the only thing he can say is that was a long time ago. It still happened. You're serving a life sentence. Crystal's serving a life sentence, just not in this life anymore. And I don't think some of them realize that. They don't recognize that. They're ashamed. They don't want to talk about it. But why not? What's done is done, because at that time, you did it. You didn't have any remorse. You didn't have any thought for this child. I mean, but that's me being on a soapbox, and I'm going to end this video here. I want to say thank you guys for watching NikeTV. Thank you for coming back time after time. Thank you to all my subscribers. You guys do not go unnoticed. I appreciate it. I'm going to be bringing you more content here in the near future. Just stick with me. It's a little slow going here, but I promise you it's going to get better and better and better. But for that, I'm out. Just a quick note, people. I know this video was all over the place. Listen, I call this a podeo, a podcast/video, because some of my clips wouldn't import. So I had to make it do what it do, and I had to improvise on the spot. So I hope you guys like this format. I promise it won't be like this always, but I had a hell of a time trying to get this together. So here you go.